Welcoming in now Richard Jefferson and Matt Barnes. Thank you so much for hanging with me today, gentlemen. We just heard a whole lot from Adrian Wojnarowski, and what was interesting to me is the timing piece, right? The timing for the best deal for Kevin Durant might not be the same as the timing for the best deal for Kyrie Irving. What did you make of everything we just heard, Matt?
I mean, obviously, and as they should, the Nets are asking for a king's ransom for KD.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably one of the, if not the best player in his prime to ever ask to be traded. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like Woj mentioned, deals aren't coming as fast as they want, and we end up seeing KD possibly starting this season in Brooklyn. And then on the flip side, I look at that, if you're trading for Kevin Durant, you're going to have to give up so much. What is the team going to have left? Obviously, there's probably going to be a third and fourth team in there, but I'm thinking that between the two main teams, if KD chooses to go to a team, they're going to have to give up so much to get him. What's going to be left when he gets there? So a lot of tough decisions to be made, and we'll just have to sit back and continue to speculate and enjoy.
Well, and they're both complicated for different reasons. Kyrie doesn't have as many places or probably suitors where Kevin Durant has damn near the entire league.
Right.
But this is what I would say to some NBA teams. I understand that you don't want to give away too much, but you're going to have to give away a lot. That being said, if you've got Kevin Durant on your team to start the season, it looks far better than if you trade for him at some point in time during the season. If you're giving up a lot to get Kevin Durant on your team, it's because you want to win a championship now or in the next two years. So for me, you want to give it up now, get him to his team, get him acclimated, do all the things that you need to do to make sure that you can start the season in the best possible way versus saying, well, we don't want to give up two swaps, so now Kevin Durant's not going to be on our team for 20 games or 15 games in the middle of the season.
Right, but I think the balance, though, is that making sure whatever it is you give up, Kevin still looks around at what's still there, and he says, okay, I feel good about going there because we can win.
Well, there's not going to be, you can't win-win in this situation.
But then that's why, if you can't win-win in this situation, as Woj told us on the show yesterday, that's why this is so complicated, why we could either, one, see it drag out, or there's a possibility that as time and situations are jointly presented to the Nets and Kevin looks around and says, I still feel like, because we all know that Kevin wants to win. Like at the end of the day, that's what he wants. And so if and I'm not saying he does, but if what you're saying comes to fruition and the choices are, I feel like I could win better with the Nets than I could. Like, that's the balance.
And that's the one thing that I've seen from Kevin Durant, and I don't know him personally, but I will say this. In Oklahoma City, after they, lost to Golden State, he decided to leave, right? Because I think he wanted to just hey, I want to play that brand of basketball, where everyone moves. He gets there. And then after a little bit of time with the Draymond situation, he's like, okay, this isn't just basketball anymore. I want to go someplace else. Now he goes to Brooklyn, and then all of a sudden it seems like it's not just basketball anymore. It seems like there's a bunch of other things. So that's the reoccurring theme that I've seen with Kevin Durant is when it doesn't become just basketball, he doesn't really want much part of it. And I respect that. Yeah. And so if the Nets can get back to in some way saying hey, we just want to focus on basketball here and get rid of the distractions, then, maybe they can convince Kevin. Maybe Kyrie is still on that roster.
Well, that's the one thing you can knock Kevin for whatever reason you want, but at the end of the day, he wants to win, and he's going to put his best out there every single time he steps on the floor. So you can say whatever you want about the other stuff, his decisions, his going dark on everyone, but the one thing we know about Kevin Durant is when he gets on that floor, he's going to give you his absolute most. So, again, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, like I said, with winning being his top priority, teams are going to have to give up so much to get him. When he looks at that roster that he's possibly going to, can I win with this roster, or do I have a better chance, like you said, at winning in Brooklyn? And we'll have to see.
Right. And I mean, I covered Kevin Durant in Brooklyn for 2 years. We have not spoken in this process. I wouldn't say we're especially close, but from being around him every day, that's sort of what I've noticed. It's about winning. And so what keeps making all of these trade scenarios that our insiders are coming up with and presenting to us that make sense maybe for one team don't necessarily make sense for Brooklyn or make sense for Kevin. And that's why this is such a difficult needle to thread here, with winning being the through line that they're trying to pull.
Well, the most important thing here is you're getting Kevin Durant for 4 years. Let's not just make it seem like, hey, we need to win today. It's like, no, we can say it's like, hey, this is our core.
Absolutely.
And over the next 1 year, 2 years, we can add these pieces, we can add these pieces, and maybe in the last 2 years of your deal is when our team is going to be fully loaded.
He has to buy into that
agreed,
plan, right?
Agreed,
that's it. He has to be able to say, yes, cool, because you don't make a trade and mortgage all this for Kevin Kevin Durant if you don't feel like Kevin Durant is going to come there, buy in, give you the time for the 4 years. And if he buys into that vision, and there are guys, there are men, there are general managers who are so brilliant at doing that, someone like Masai Ujiri selling Kawhi Leonard on a vision for 1 year, that there are people who can do that, but it's not everybody that can do that.
No, really quickly. Remember, LeBron James won in his second year in LA.
Yep.
He won in his second year in Cleveland. He won in his second year in Miami. So it's not just about showing up and saying this. You remember what LeBron James showed up with in LA and what it turned into. So Kevin Durant and his team have to have the vision of like, hey, might be what it is today, but this is what it can turn into.
As long as all those cards are on the table and they're all reading the tea leaves the same, that could be a beautiful thing, whether it's in Brooklyn or somewhere else.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.